Amendment number 347. Senator Downing has an amendment which the clerk will read.
Amendment number 347 of Senator Downing, regional PSAP waiver.
The Senator from Essex, Mr. Tarr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Among other things, this amendment contains a very interesting acronym, and so I'm hoping that we can have an explanation of the acronym as well as, beneath the acronym, the very substantive change that this appears to be making to existing protocols for public dispatch or emergency communications dispatch in the Commonwealth. And I know that the gentleman is uniquely qualified to give us an explanation of that. I hope he'll do so right now, and I look forward to it.
The Senator from Berkshire, Hampshire, and Franklin, Mr. Downing.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And through you to the Minority Leader. And to start with that acronym, the PSAP, the Public Safety Answering Point. The Berkshire Sheriff is one of 3 regional public safety answering points. They provide communication services for, at this point, 22 of the 32 communities in Berkshire County. The cost of providing those services for the sheriff is about $750,000, $750,000. Part of the ability to pay for that, which would cost much more if every one of those 32 communities provided that service, but part of the ability to pay for that is made possible by a grant from the 911 Trust Fund. That trust gives a grant to the Berkshire County Sheriff on the order of $515,000 each year. However, the sheriff in his department does not receive $515,000 each year. After fringe benefits and other indirect charges are assessed to that grant, the sheriff's department receives $329,000 each year. Along with a retained revenue line item that the sheriff has, there is then a delta of several $100,000 that is not paid for either through a grant or through funds received from the communities which receive the services. So the sheriff, by regionalizing services, is actually being penalized for doing something that I think all 40 members of this body would agree we ought to be incentivizing. They are actually being penalized for doing that. This does not change policy over the course of the long term. What it rather does is give the Berkshire County Sheriff, which is one of 3 of these regional PSAPs, and the only one that is funded in this mechanism, and the only one that is affected by these indirect fees. What it would do is give them a 1-year waiver from those fees to try and address what is the underlying issue of payments received by those 22 member communities and the process through which they receive grants from the 911 Trust Fund. It would take some pressure off of the sheriff's budget so that they continue to provide secure services and public safety services throughout the Berkshires, and that they can partner in public safety prevention and awareness throughout the Berkshires. So this would allow them to continue to do what they're doing, something that's been noted as a model by none other than the Pioneer Institute, among others, which I know is a good housekeeping seal of approval for the Minority Leader, and something that I think can be a model for other sheriffs and houses of correction across the Commonwealth. So I hope that the amendment is adopted so that we can continue to provide the incentives needed for regionalization of services in this budget. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Essex, Mr. Tarr.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the explanation. I would hope that this is a situation that is able to be worked through in the 1 year, because I do think these kinds of waivers have